Eboni Waitere has spent her career expanding whose stories get told in Aotearoa and who gets to tell them. As the first Māori president of the Publishers Association of New Zealand and as executive director of Huia Publishers, she's working at the intersection of culture and innovation at a moment when publishing is being reshaped by technology, ethics, and global shifts in readership. I'm André Chumko, and today on Articulate, we're diving into questions about responsibility, authorship, AI, and the future of Māori storytelling. Thank you so much for coming in today, Eboni. It's so nice to have you here, and welcome to our studio. I thought a good place to start was with Huia Publishers, where you're executive director. Huia really champions te reo Māori on the world stage, and I wanted to start out by asking, why do you think those voices resonate so powerfully around the world right now?
I mean, people always want a good story. They want, people are up for seeing genuine storytelling at its best. I think Māori language is an invitation. So some of the feedback that we've received from when we're trying to sell rights to other publishers, when we ask specifically about Māori language being in some of the text, has that been a distraction, or would we need to change and edit these words? They've said in the context of the sentence, the Māori word hasn't been a distraction at all.
Oh, wow.
So it's an invitation rather than an obstacle. And I think too, the world's a much smaller place now. And technology has certainly made shifts, which means that people can look up words quite easily if it's a single word. If it's a whole text, often they're inspired, and there's other Indigenous languages within their communities. So these can be help with guiding other groups, and certainly there's lots for Māori to learn from other First Nations and Indigenous peoples. So there's lots going on, I think, in the world, and I think technology has really exposed us to a lot more opportunity to share our stories. And so I don't know if it's now because all of a sudden there's some trends that impact it, or we've always valued Māori language and Māori storytelling. It's just now the rest of the world get an opportunity to see it, hear it, and enjoy it as well.
Our core question today is, what responsibility does publishing carry in shaping the stories a nation tells about itself, and also what it chooses to leave out? What's your response to that?
I think the question is quite telling. It's quite a powerful question, and there's lots of research that shows just how powerful storytelling in the publishing industry is. I mean, some years ago we made the decision, as we were receiving lots of manuscripts from scholars, from historians, from anthropologists, where they wanted to have some of their research published. And a lot of these scholars were international, visiting here in New Zealand. And often they were telling iwi stories. They'd come to the table and meet with us. The iwi was nowhere to be seen. They weren't part of it. Nothing about us without us is the decision we came to. So then we started saying, this is fantastic. We love the research. The next meeting, if you want to continue having a dialogue about us publishing your works, we suggest you bring that iwi with you so that they can tell us that they've either engaged you or endorsed this work that's about them. Now, when the iwi tell their own stories, who they choose to amplify is quite different to an outside person looking in. The things that they say, the things that they share, the things that they keep to themselves, these are all decisions that are quite different, and you can see them when you read them.
Staying with decisions, I wonder if I can ask you about some of the big challenges the publishing sector is facing at the moment with digital disruption and copyright shifts. How do you see these things? Are they threats or chances to reimagine the future?
In our lifetime, we have experience nothing but disruption.
Right.
So the idea that disruption is new is sort of, is it though? Is it? I remember not having a telephone, let alone everyone walks around with smartphones in their pocket. It is without a doubt an opportunity for us to reimagine what world we want to live in. And if we go a little bit further, what if, when we're looking at copyright legislation, we centred mātauranga Māori at the heart? What if we became the world leaders in copyright legislation from a unique New Zealand perspective? Wouldn't that be amazing? And it's not the first time that Aotearoa has been brave and been leaders in certain spaces. What if we thought about ethical ways that we could approach things? There's no doubt that technology and some of the new fancy things that are available to us, that they're not going to be useful. They're not going to save. They are going to save time, but we have to determine what that future looks like for ourselves, I think. But don't get me wrong. There's times that I dread when I think, oh no, what's going to happen? What's going to happen in the future? Will these jobs exist? Will people move on to other roles and things like that? So there are some scary things, but there's some existing, there's some things that are happening right now that we are in a position where we can make some determinations about what happens next. But we have to be brave and up for those conversations, I think.
Definitely.
And walk that pathway with our eyes wide open.
Do you think that the publishing industry is prepared for some of the ethical grey zones that technology like AI creates with editing or writing support or even marketing?
Yeah, I feel like publishers have been part of the debate for some time, and certainly we've been able to work with our international body association and the IPA, and they've been leading and at the forefront of international infringements, I guess. I think that as a result, publishers have really been thoughtful about which AI they choose to use and how they engage with it and understand the wider implications of it. They haven't just walked into AI and dismissed it, which I think is important because it is going to be an amazing tool. But they also have gone in it very carefully. There are some skills that you learn. If we just look at editors, for example, when you're learning how to edit, there's basic mistakes that you make, and then you're mentored, you're coached, and you work through them, and you get better and better and better. And then you sometimes specialise in subject matters, medicine, law, things like that. AI has the potential for us not to develop those basic skills in the future. And I think that would be a shame, and it may mean that we have a homogenised language that is actually quite boring. But I think that publishers are definitely having those debates, and we're watching, seeing how court cases play out, looking at the different technology and how it's developed, assessing whether it's been developed in an ethical way or not. I mean, likewise, climate change is another example of where publishers are being really thoughtful. But when we think about technology disruptions, when I started in the industry and ebooks became a thing, everyone said, that was the end of the print book. And then later on, audiobooks are going to take, nobody's going to be literate, they're going to just listen to audio. But I mean, audio, to be fair, is not new technology in that we've always had tapes and music or listen to storytelling on the radio even. So I think there's room for all of those things, and I certainly hope that in the future we have that technology is used to increase our literacy levels as opposed to move us away from ever wanting to read anything.
I wanted to loop back on a word that you mentioned earlier, which is amplification, and also this idea of deciding which voices get heard. And I wanted to ask you, as a publisher, how do you balance commercial realities with more kaupapa-led decisions?
At Huia, I would say that we're kaupapa driven. I'm not going to, as a business owner, you can't avoid the fact that you have to make sure that you make commercially sound decisions. But in this lifetime, as my mentor once said, we sell our skills, not our souls. So if we move too far away from our kaupapa, it's really hard to enjoy the work that we're doing if it's not on the kaupapa that we've all signed up for. In saying that, there's a whole bunch of things that have happened here in Aotearoa. If I think about the building of some of the wānanga, Te wānanga o Awanuiarangi in Whakatāne was built, they had $200 in the bank when they decided to build that tertiary institution. I mean, if all decisions were only made based on the economics of it, or economic viability of things, then they wouldn't happen. When I think about some of the books that we've chosen to publish, some of them are ahead of their time, meaning the market decided that it was not ready for some of those books. In saying that, a good example I have is Living by the Moon, which is a book by Wiremu Tāwhai, and it talks about Te Whānau Apanui and how they plant based on the moon phases. Or when they choose not to plant. When we first published that book, beautiful, and it's bilingual, Māori and English. It sat in the warehouse for some time. It was remaindered, and then all of a sudden, people started workshopping it, started using it in their day-to-day lives. The kohanga started using it to plant their marakai and the kura, and then we got more and more demand for it, and then all of a sudden it came out of being remaindered, and we went on to publish it, and now it's consistently in print as one of our best sellers. I mean, that's beautiful. So sometimes we make the decision that maybe the market is not ready for this, but this is an important book, this is mātauranga that needs to be shared, and at some stage somebody's going to pick that up and go and plant a garden.
What role should storytelling play in shaping the Aotearoa that we're becoming, not just the Aotearoa that we already are?
Yeah, I guess that there's also an untold Aotearoa story, stories that we haven't shared, that people who have had quite compelling stories their voices haven't been amplified. And I think that Huia coming to publishing, that's certainly our view, that we think we can share these amazing, remarkable stories that the rest of Aotearoa hasn't heard them, and the rest of the world may be interested in them. I mean, Chris Finlayson often talks about internationally hot and domestically not in some ways. So yes, I think it's a mirror. Sometimes it's a window, because we don't want to be navel gazing, and there's lots we can learn from other places. But certainly for a long time, Aotearoa has been more interested in other countries' histories and stories. And we do have an opportunity to actually share our own, and as you mentioned, reimagine what that future looks like. And I think that's this exciting part. Yeah, having those diverse voices.
On excitement, I wanted to ask, what excites you, Eboni, about the next generation of Māori storytellers here in Aotearoa?
They're fearless. They don't have some of the hang-ups. They're very clear about their own identity. They've seen how others have been exploited, and they're very cautious about walking into those doors. They have strong language around sovereignty and their story sovereignty, and I think that's exciting. And I think that they have got some interesting perspectives on the world. Like I said earlier, the world is a much smaller place now, and so they can also look in the mirror, or they can look through a window, and have a view of the rest of the world as well. And I think sometimes we like to put boundaries on ourselves and say that, to be Māori, you can only tell a story about your own marae and your own pā. Well, why? Why? Who said that? And that's certainly, we've had that feedback from other international publishers. They notice that we don't really publish too many myths and legends about native history, things like that. And we just love to receive the feedback. We don't usually push back on those things, but in thinking about it, we have published lots of iwi stories, and we'll continue to publish iwi stories set in certain times. But that's not the only thing we publish. We are quite happy to publish dazzle hands, where the pig doesn't want to say oink. You know, that, like, it's got nothing to do with the price of fish. So we have, and we have the right, just like our young, aspiring, new, up-and-coming authors have the right to tell the stories that they want to tell in the way that they want to tell them, using the language that they want to, share it with, be it English or Māori, and we're up for it. We're looking forward to it. Who wants to live in a homogenised place where you hear the same stories over and over again, told in a slightly different way? Like, let's have diverse voices.
Yes, please.
Let's have funny stories. Let's have sad stories. Let's have stories that move us, educate us. Let's have all of it from everyone's perspective. That's what a rich democratic society looks like.
Yeah, it's everyone. It's the melting pot. Yeah,
everyone.
Totally.
Let's make sure that our vulnerable people have a voice. Let's hear it.
Yeah. And on that note, Eboni, I think finally you might have brought in an object from your life to share with us today. What is it, and why did you decide to bring it in today?
I didn't weave this, so I need to be very clear about this. This was a gift that was given to me this year. We've just published Sir Hirini Moko Mead's book, Mātauranga Māori.
Beautiful cover.
That's a takarangi.
Wow.
So in publishing this, I am going to his book launch at Manuka Tūtahi. I did say a speech.
Oh, wow.
And I had some notes of things that I'd like to say to him. And this was a gift that his daughter had. She wove this for me.
Wow.
And the notes, the
they're inside.
From the speech, I've kept in there.
That's so special. It
is special. But and talking about gifting, and that's a creative experience as well. Some years ago, Huia published Mā Tātua Wharenui, and Hirini Moko Mead was one of the lead authors of that book as well. And when they gave us the manuscript, handed over the manuscript all those years ago, they gave it in a kete. And then when we went back to the marae to launch the book, we gave the published book back to them in the kete that they gave to us.
Beautiful.
And this idea of giving and receiving, because we've got some other amazing stories from the same whānau over the years, is something I think is you can be as creative as you want to be in terms of receiving gifts and the theatrics of it and giving gifts back, and just how moving but also lots of aroha and thought goes into those interactions. The word rangatira is really about weaving together a tira of people, and I think the idea of giving and receiving is an act of rangatiratanga, of being or behaving in a rangatira way, and rangatiratanga being about sovereignty is all really important in this time.
Totally. Thank you so much for coming in today, Eboni. I so appreciate your time. Thank you.
I appreciate your questions.
Kia ora.
Yeah.
Our conversation today has circled around power, who holds it, who shares it, and how it moves through the stories a country chooses to elevate. Publishing is changing, but the stakes remain the same. Stories shape culture, and culture shapes possibility. I'm André Chumko, and this has been Articulate. For our full episode archive, find us on Spotify, YouTube, or at thepost.co.nz/articulate. I'll see you next time.